Chapter 336. Everyone was becoming stronger. After a few attempts, Flamingo gradually understood Ling Su's intentions, and the true power in its body suddenly increased. Ling Su suspected that it was possible that his teacher's inheritance was not complete. The difference between the pointed sea spear and the airy spear of stars was just a few minute changes, but it evolved into two completely different spear techniques. The power contained in the tip of the spear was terrifying. Really strong. How could such a powerful battle technique be defeated? His teacher had passed away early, and Ling Su's pointed sea spears were mostly self-explored. He liked the feeling of riding fiery bird and charging to his heart's content, but he did not ponder over the mysteries within. The melodious singing never stopped for a moment in the nightmare of the Hercules. That blurry gray figure, that overwhelming spear intent, caused his soul to tremble. However, Ling Su caressed the silver spear in his hand. His fiery orange eyes were filled with indescribable determination. Furthermore, even though he was tempering his spear techniques in the martial immortal's nightmare, it was, after all, an existence akin to a dream and not reality. Ling Su touched the silver spear. Although it felt familiar, it was still different from the dream. After a long period of bitter training in spear techniques, his comprehension of the silver frost mount's pointed sea spears, the airy spear of stars, was extremely fast. Gradually, Ling Su could feel the profoundness of the airy spear of stars. But after suppressing him for so many days, even if he knew that the opponent was a legendary silver frost mount, Ling Su's heart was still suppressing the evil fire. He had a fiery temper and would start a fight at the slightest displeasure. This evil fire was suppressed in his heart, but the other party was too strong, so he could only suppress it and ferment it. The raging flames gradually dimmed, and the figure of the white-clothed youth appeared in front of him. The youth's face showed signs of fatigue, and even the hand holding the spear was trembling slightly. It was obvious that the consumption of that spear was quite shocking. Facing an enemy whose true power was weaker than his, the best way was to meet force with force, abandoning all those fancy moves and using force to win. Crane subconsciously clenched the crane sword in his hand tightly, his heart surging with emotions. Bang! Guang Wu wanted to meet force with force, which was exactly what he wanted. He turned his face and looked at the fire that had stopped. He was stunned speechless. This charge was unprecedentedly powerful. He did not feel the slightest bit of heat from Fiery Bird's flames. Instead, he felt warm and comfortable. The most important thing was that he and Fiery Bird's aura had merged into one. He had failed several times just now, but he was able to grasp some clues. Flamingo was a mechanical beast, but mechanical beasts also consumed energy from star rocks, and had no intrinsic difference from the true power in his body. The blood saber exploded into pieces in front of Ling Su. Without thinking, Ling Su flicked his wrist. In the beginning, his spear technique was still a little shaky. This was his life-saving trump card, Blood Thunder Sound. Teacher, can you see it? Little Su has already become stronger than before. Zhou Xian, who was leisurely watching the battle, suddenly stood up. He looked at Guang Wu in disbelief. He was so shocked that he could not speak. The scene just now was too shocking. The blood saber's blood aura was even more astonishing, as though countless of blood was wrapping around the saber's body. It was as though he had just come out from the Azura battlefield. Even the surrounding light auras were attracted by the dark red blood aura, becoming as dark as ink, adding to the strange coldness. But Guang Wu wanted to use force to win, giving him time to rest. After exchanging over 20 moves, Ling Su felt more and more familiar with it. The concept of the Aries Spear of Stars was also gradually being displayed. The spear's power became heavier and heavier. Bang! Just at this time, Ling Su arrived. The crux of man and mount becoming one was to allow the true power of both parties to resonate with each other. Ling Su felt his chest becoming stuffy, the demonic sound piercing his brain. All the blood in his body instantly froze. He was overwhelmed with shock. What martial technique was that? Just at that moment, the sheep horn wind bells on the silver spear suddenly rang. The sound was so soft that it could not be heard, but when it landed in Ling Su's ears, it was like thunder. He only felt his head buzzing, his body relaxed, and the strange cold restriction suddenly disappeared. Silver Frost Mount, his inner demon, was actually the Silver Frost Mount. His eyes flashed with a faint dark red light aura. It was cold and terrifying. He clenched his teeth, holding a ball of blood in his mouth. He was ready to attack. The dream world in the Hercules nightmare was like a lifetime ago. The weight of his inner demon far exceeded that of ordinary people. Thus the battles in the Hercules nightmare were extremely intense. Ling Su, who was infatuated with the new spear technique, greedily and crazily absorbed everything. The spear tip that was soaked in silver liquid accurately pierced Guang Wu's blood blade. This fellow, what kind of freak is he? Is this the Silver Frost Mount's battle technique? He could not remember how many battles he had fought, but in the dream world he fought tirelessly imitating and learning the Ares Spear of Stars. Ling Su's heart was wild with joy, success. If he had any thoughts of retreating, he would only die on the spot. Facing him head-on, seeking life in the midst of death, only then would there be a chance of survival. He had killed countless of people, although he was afraid of Ling Su's might, but in that moment he was able to make a decision. The surging flames were like lightning. Inside the surging red flames, a cold aura blossomed. Ling Su stared at Guang Wu, his heart feeling extremely comfortable. From the start he was suppressed in the Hercules nightmare. Until the end he did not win against the Silver Frost Mount, and for some reason he was able to retreat from the dream world. Guang Wu roared, the true power in his body surged, his hair disheveled as though he was crazy, the clothes on his body swelled up. The blood aura around his body suddenly became dense, like a dark red blood. The experienced Guang Wu began to fight without hesitation. Guang Wu was like a puppet, maintaining his slashing posture, not moving an inch. Ling Su instinctively thrusted his spear out. That was Guang Wu. Guang Wu stared at the white-robed young man on Flamingo's back in fear. Zhou Xian Central did not know what to do. Who is this fellow? What spear technique is that? Guang Wu's head exploded into pieces without any warning. The headless corpse fell down like a wooden stake. Bang! His pointed sea spear was continuous and one with quantity. But the Ares Spear of Stars was completely different. It emphasized on simplifying. The spear aura was like a star. Every spear was extremely heavy. Borrowing the momentum of the mount, the spear power became even more astonishing. At the start of the battle with the Silver Frost Mount, as long as Ling Su touched the tip of the Silver Frost Mount's spear, he would immediately fly out. Actually, really killed this old fellow. Flamingo was also extremely excited. In the midst of its assault, it suddenly cried out and its speed increased. Both parties continuously exchanged over 20 moves, but Ling Su seemed to be fine without any signs of fatigue. At the start, Guang Wu felt that Ling Su's strength was not bad, but he was still full of confidence, thinking that he could suppress him. Especially since Ling Su's true power was not as vigorous as his, Guang Wu saw it as a weakness. Flamingo's red flames suddenly leaped onto Ling Su's body, enveloping Ling Su completely. One man and one mount, transformed into a regiment of flames, their might exploding. Who knew Ling Su was actually so strong? From being inexperienced to being familiar, clashing head-on with head-on allowed him to release the evil fire in his heart that had been suppressed for a long time. At this time he had comprehended the unity of man and mount, regardless of whether it was his essence, chi or spirit. All of them rose to an unprecedented peak. Guang Wu's sinister face and the dense blood blade enlarged in his eyes. He had finally walked out of the bitter battle. He heaved a sigh of relief and was also excited. Guang Wu threw away all the distracting thoughts, suddenly spitting out the blood in his mouth and shouted, "Kill!" Ling Su stopped. He turned his body. His heart was filled with excitement and a trace of disbelief. No wonder Guang Wu was bewildered. On his blood blade, there were a few fine silver scars. No matter how he instigated his true power, he was unable to remove them. What exactly is this? Guang Wu's face changed. He only felt a regiment of extremely intense raging flames, suddenly rushing towards him. The air in front of him became scorching hot. The bone-piercing killing intent filled every strand of air that was so hot that it was about to combust. The warning in his heart was unprecedentedly intense. He knew that it was time to fight with his life on the line. The opponent's aura was too strong, to the point that his state of mind was shaken. Ling Su no longer had the strength to continue fighting. After a few seconds, a drop of blood seeped out from his forehead. Is this the Ares Spear of Stars? Zhou Xian was a person who was used to big scenes, although his heart was overwhelmed with shock, but his face remained calm. Blazing silver spear. His silver hair fluttered. Ling Su's face was filled with fighting intent. This type of assault was his favorite method of attack. In the martial immortal nightmare he had learnt an extremely practical technique, and that was the unity of man and mount. But after 20 moves Ling Su's chi channels did not have any signs of drying up. Instead he became more and more courageous, his spear power becoming heavier and heavier. Crane's eyes that were as calm as water flashed a trace of excitement and fighting intent. His heart was extremely excited, the true power in his body was not left. Although the spear was extremely powerful, it had squeezed out all the energy in his body, but he did not feel the slightest bit of fatigue, his entire being was immersed in the excitement and joy. It was the first time Ling Su was truly using it. Just like that. Ling Su was extremely excited, this feeling was truly too good. The silver spear is like snow untainted by the clouds. The sound of the sheep horn bell, the cool breeze does not carry it. The sun shines but no shadow, the spear is straight. The vast heart guards my stars. Crane was also extremely surprised. He naturally believed in Ling Su, but he did not expect Ling Su to be able to defeat Guangwu, and he was even prepared to help. The silver frost mounts had shown him what was called the unity of man and mount. A regiment of flames stepped on the sand, bringing forth a fiery red trace in the air. Like the wind, it brushed past Guangwu's shoulder. As expected of the inheritor of the silver frost mounts. In truth he did not understand why would the demon in his heart be the silver frost mounts. He had initially thought that the demon in his heart would be the traitor. But in the martial immortal nightmare he did not have much time to think. It was as though he was in a sea of lava, and had a feeling that he had nowhere to hide. Yong Xianzhong did not have the slightest bit of contempt, his ranking was not far from Guangwu. If Guangwu could not block the assault, could he block it? But the silver frost mounts had shown him the realm of man and mount as one. It opened his eyes and he suddenly realized so that was how a mount was used. Guangwu's sinister face suddenly became filled with fear and disbelief. Sitting on the back of Flamingo that was running at high speed, Ling Su's vision kept on shaking, but everything around him became extremely clear, as though everything was under his control. Chapter 337. Killing such an enemy was not something to be happy about. Just at that moment Yi Zhaoji's maniacal laughter came out from the sky. All of you go and die. Perspiration flowed down his face, his entire body was covered with injuries. For the 18 days in the suicide room he did not rest at all. Liang Qiu's body trembled and he retreated a few steps. A Maori subconsciously used the huge shield that he picked up to block in front of him. Clang. Liang Qiu's heart trembled, he bellowed, and with a flick of his wrist the metal chain on his wrist was pulled, and the metal chain ball shot out, shooting behind him. Hurry up. The gigantic blade aura flew close to the ground and the few people who were running for their lives were sliced in half. Then following that the enemy's main target was only one, and that was himself. A shocking amount of blood flowed down the arm that he used to raise the shield. Han Bingning and Sima Xiangshan did not say anything, and followed closely behind Bing, running with all their might. The Swallowtail camp was frightened by the blade of the Lupus army, and their originally low morale finally collapsed. A few of the cowardly soldiers screamed and turned to escape. These soldiers who had lost control immediately caused an avalanche of reactions. His gaze landed in the middle of a group of soldiers. They looked no different from the rest, but if one looked carefully they would realize they were faintly forming a protective circle. The wind concealment steps under his feet gradually changed. His footsteps became lighter and the resistance of breaking through the air became smaller, but he was not happy at all and continued to try to be faster. Bang! Bang! Although the enemy's commander used his elites to tangle with the Maori and the other three, the four of them still had a huge impact. If the enemy's commander was said to be controlling a large net, then there were now 4 large holes in this large net. Huang Fuhong realized that Sky Tiger was looking at him, and his face changed. The enemy had actually sensed his location. He slowly carried Jing Hao and chased after Bing and the rest. Liang Qiu was immediately surrounded. He took a deep breath, did not advance but retreated, borrowing the strength of the chain ball. His body suddenly leaned back. The elite behind him had yet to recover from Liang Qiu's attack, and Liang Qiu's response was also unexpected. His face couldn't help but change. However, he also knew that if he dodged now, the encirclement would collapse on its own. How he wished that time could slow down at this moment. A low crashing sound came from behind and someone exclaimed, "Be careful, there's something strange about his qi." Only Bing was calmer. He was familiar with army battles, so he did not get caught. But at this moment his heart was filled with shock. The enemy's general was indeed not an incompetent person. The light auras that enveloped the army quickly converged at the front of the formation, transforming into 8 gigantic blade auras that were over 3 m tall. Suddenly he heard the hurried sound of hooves behind him. The opponent clearly understood Bing's intentions, and similarly sensed that a Maori and the rest did not have the experience of fighting armies, so they used their elites to tangle with the 4 of them and firmly held the initiative. Xianxia's Ho was an unparalleled martial technique. Bing raised his head abruptly and looked to the left, 300 feet away. Zhang Zheng was completely stunned. This. What kind of military general is this? Yi Zhaogu, who was in the air, stopped and muttered to himself, "Let these fellows die together, the scene will be even more spectacular." Ah! Almost at the same time, 2 wind sounds came out from both sides of Liangqiu, and from the sound of the wind, Liangqiu knew that they had encountered the elites of the army. Zhang Zheng's Swallowtail camp had suffered a blow previously, and their morale was affected, but under Zhang Zheng's command, they once again started their formation. In the empty tunnel, there was only the sound of Tang Tian flying through the air. The Swallowtail camp was plowed into 8 bloody paths, and along the way blood and flesh flew everywhere. The Swallowtail camp's formation was actually plowed through. But the Lupus army that was charging was much more powerful than they had imagined. As though he had eyes on the back of his head, Liangqiu suddenly raised his elbow. Whoosh! A metal ball shot out from his armpit straight towards his face. The martial artist behind him turned pale with fright, and subconsciously slashed at the metal ball. Tang Yi, who was at the front of the formation, rushed to the front of the enemy. The Zanbato in his hand suddenly slashed down, and behind him, all the Lupus soldiers waved their blades in unison. Bang! Any army would have an expert overseeing it. Without an expert overseeing it, it was unimaginable. The use of experts was not only to be able to fight against the enemy's experts, but also to be able to break the deadlock. Han Bingning's opponents were a pair of twin sisters. Although the 2 of them were slightly weaker, but they were telepathically linked and had a tacit understanding. Adding the 20 martial artists supporting them, they were able to stabilize the situation. Zhang Zheng was being carried by his bodyguards to escape. His face was stupefied. The speed of his hands was not fast, but his strength was astonishing, and everywhere he passed people would fall and horses would fall. Bing's poker face did not have any expression, but the corner of his mouth curled up. Clenching his teeth, his face was covered with perspiration. The young man's heart was unstoppable. "I have long been waiting for you." The bone-piercing cold intent caused the hairs on his body to stand. He did not dare to stop, and used all his might to drill forward. But the cold intent behind his back was like a bone maggot. He could not get rid of it. Buzz! Sky Tiger opened up his stance and was about to charge forward. Bang! His body became light, and the resistance in front of him seemed to have disappeared without a trace. His legs seemed to be stepping on a gust of wind, and his speed suddenly increased. "Be careful!" 8 gigantic blade auras whistled through the air, flying towards the enemy's formation. The enemy's light barrier was like fragile glass, instantly shattering. Suddenly the sound of the wind beside his ear changed. Many of the Lupus soldiers behind him were gasping for breath, revealing a look of exhaustion. That blade just now had actually drained more than half of their true power. But all of their eyes were red, as though there was a regiment of flames burning in their bodies. Although their strength was exhausted, but they were not the least bit afraid. Bang! Tang Yi led the army, and like a chisel he plunged into the enemy's formation. Suddenly Bing sensed an extremely dangerous qi. He raised his head, and suddenly realized a figure had appeared above his head. When Bing saw Jing Hao in Yi Zhaoji's hands, his face changed again. "Tang Tian, you can definitely do it. Definitely can do it." Other than a Maori who took the blow, the other 3 reacted quickly and dodged. Faster. A little faster. Although Liangqiu had not truly comprehended the profoundness of Xianxia's Ho, but even so, it still made him as powerful as a tiger, and no one could stop him. One fatal strike, one touch, and then retreat. A clear picture appeared in Bing's mind. He had never heard of such an attack before. His gaze was blank. It was obviously just a cannon fodder army. How could they be so strong? Could it be that previously they were faking it? Retreat. Huang Fuhong, who was completely focused on Bing, did not have time to react. The formless sword qi landed on the battlefield, and immediately splattered countless of blood flowers. Being caught off guard, they immediately suffered heavy losses. Kill! Bing's shout resonated throughout the entire battlefield. Sima Xianxian's figure was extremely strange. The heavy armor army's tall and big physique gave him a huge advantage. He was like an extremely agile snake, coming and going like the wind in the shadows. Once he found an opening, he would bare his fangs. 3 short and small black-robed swordsmen, wielding a sword, chased closely behind him. His figure flickered, and in the next moment he appeared 300 m away. The wind whistled past his ears. He ran with all his might. Amauri felt as though he was hit by a heavy hammer. His mind was muddled. The sand beneath his feet exploded, forming a huge pit of 10 m deep and 15 m wide. He had never been so focused on running without caring about anything, running with his life on the line. He held onto Jing Hao's sword, fiercely slashing downwards like a torrential downpour of rain for more than 10 swords. A blue figure swept past him, grabbed the white-faced Amauri and ran with all his might. The martial artists that fell in his hands, all had extremely small wounds on their bodies. Everyone shouted in agreement, "Kill!" A ray of sword qi stuck to his back and entered the ground. Amauri's movements were even bigger. Surrounding him were 3 small groups of over 30 people. On the board of unique warriors, another name lit up. Bing's advantage of being through hundreds of battles was displayed thoroughly. Bing's reaction was the fastest out of everyone. In that moment he was able to judge the disparity in strength between both parties. Sky Tiger, who had grabbed Amauri, appeared beside Liang Qiu in the next moment. The calm and collected Bing did not forget. Among the 4 of them, Liang Qiu and Amauri's light body techniques were the weakest. The formless sword qi poured down like rain, attacking indiscriminately. He had already started to think on how to raise the standard of Lupus army, such a standard of assault. What was there to be happy about? Liang Qiu still wanted to add another attack, but at that moment 2 rays of blade auras were already in front of him. Helpless, he could only shake both of his arms, and 2 metal chains flew back, clashing with the 2 blade auras. Compared to Liang Qiu, Sima Xianxian's attack was even more terrifying. Bing's gaze landed on the middle-aged man with a face full of hardships. The sky above everyone's head was sliced into pieces by the countless sword qi, like the water in a pond being stirred. Yi Zhaoji's figure immediately became blurry. My unique warrior is assault. Others might need to wait for your attack to confirm your position, but I have already locked onto your position. A powerful force drilled into his body through the blade, causing his chest to be in pain, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Tang Yi rode his horse to Zhang Zheng's corpse. He was extremely conspicuous among the fanatical and excited soldiers. His face was extremely calm, without a hint of happiness. He bit his lips tightly, his stubborn eyes burning with a surging flame. Huang Fuhong's eyes almost popped out. He never thought that Yi Xiaogu would not even let his allies go. Yi Xiaogu, after training bitterly underwater, every move he made contained astonishing power. His attacks were simple and plain, without any light aura, but the power of the metal chains was able to penetrate through the thick armor and directly hit the martial artist inside. Behead the thief. He clenched his teeth and slashed towards Liang Qiu, who was retreating. Chapter 338. But he did not cower. Ling Su had just experienced a huge battle, and the only one who retained his strength was him. He was duty-bound to be the main attacker. When he was with Tang Tian and the rest, Crane had never been the main attacker. Tang Tian and Ling Su were battle maniacs, and most of the time he was in charge of cleaning up the battlefield. Yong Xianzhong suddenly flew into the sky. Xiaogu, wait a moment. In just a short moment, everyone could clearly see who was coming. Sky Tiger was carrying Amauri and Liang Qiu, while Han Bingning and Sima Xianxian were running behind him. It did not look like they were returning from a victory. But behind them there was no one. Such a big tone. Ling Su could not resist but snort. Amauri is injured? Crane immediately asked. Tang Yi did not go near, but led the Lupus army and stopped about 200 m away from them. Crane and Ling Su's face congealed. Bing's strength was unfathomable, his eyesight was shrewd and ruthless, and his words did not sound like he was joking. He let go of Jing Hao, and Jing Hao fell onto the sand dune like a sandbag. Yi Zhaogu extended his hand to touch his face. Seeing the blood stains on his fingers, he licked it. In just a short moment, Ling Su, Bing Han Bingning, Liang Qiu and Sima Xiangshan were already in position. The sword tip suddenly lit up with a dazzling light aura and he suddenly disappeared. After receiving Yi Zhaoji's sword, I am slightly exhausted. Amauri had already regained his senses and was crestfallen. But his palms were split apart by Yi Zhaoji's sword, and were dripping with blood. It looked terrifying, but in truth his injuries were not severe. But thinking about how he was the only one injured out of so many people, Amauri immediately felt ashamed. In the blink of an eye, on the distant sand dune, a few black dots appeared. The experiences he had after meeting Tang Tian and the others surfaced in his mind. Driving a carriage, tidying up, keeping accounts and various other chores. To a youth who had once aspired to join the Light Crane sect, this was something he had never thought about. Sky Tiger appeared behind Yi Zhaogu like a flash of blue lightning. He crossed his left and right arms, forming a dazzling cross. With an astonishing aura, he pressed it towards Yi Zhaoji's back. "Brother Yong, please watch the battle from the side," Crane said calmly. The taste of the roasted meat just now was not bad. It seemed to have the fragrance of green cloud wood. "It is very special." Crane smiled. Crane's hand held onto the sword hilt, his expression solemn. He knew how terrifying the enemy in front of him was. After a few leaps, Bing and the rest arrived beside them. A white sword light instantly appeared in front of Yi Zhaogu. Yi Zhaogu tilted his head to the side and a trace of blood appeared on his cheek. "Yi Zhaogu is here." He forced out a smile. "As long as you like it, it's good." Quicksword. Amauri was born with a godly strength. Adding the special death training, his brute strength was astonishing, but he actually lost all his strength after receiving Yi Zhaoji's sword. Yi Zhaoji's sword was actually so heavy. In truth, interacting with Crane was extremely enjoyable. Crane's character and cultivation were impeccable. He treated people with respect and was warm and easy to get along with, causing Yong Xianzhong to be secretly amazed. Yong Xianzhong heaved a sigh of relief. "Thank you, Zhaogu." "Yes." Bing did not beat around the bush. "He is behind us. He is waiting for us to meet up and then kill us all." Crane and Ling Su looked at each other. Yi Zhaoji's sword actually made Amauri lose all his strength. Yong Xianzhong's face twitched, his heart bleeding. The desert was an endless sand dune. Where could he find any wood? Helplessly, he could only tear down a small tea table made of green cloud wood. Green cloud wood was extremely expensive. Such a small tea table cost him 200,000 star coins. He spent another 100,000 star coins and invited a master to meticulously carve it. It was truly luxurious. Of course, he did not dare to prove it to his teacher. If the old man became angry, breaking his legs would be considered light. Almost at the same time, everyone moved. Bing did not see Tang Tian and was slightly disappointed, but he quickly adjusted his emotions. On the battlefield, anything could happen, but the battle had to continue. Helplessly, he could only retreat to the side, his heart set on thinking of a way to save Crane from Zhaogu. Tang Yi, who was in the distance, suddenly led his army to charge. A distance of 200 meters to Tang Yi was the best distance for him to charge. This time it concerned everyone's life and death. Bing noticed Yong Xianzhong but did not say anything and only glanced at Tang Yi. Crane's eyes suddenly flashed a cold aura. His body was like a crane's shadow. The crane sword in his hand did not dodge and slashed out. "Prepare for battle." Bing's words caused Crane and Ling Su's face to change. Just at that moment, Crane's calm voice sounded out. "Thank you for Brother Yong's good intentions, but although Crane's strength is average, I do not plan to abandon my friends and escape." The only thing that was unsightly was Crane's tattered black robe, proving that his previous experience was not normal. Yong Xianzhong was in charge of the matters of the sect and was knowledgeable, so his evaluation of Crane was even higher. The resources of aristocratic family disciples were extremely abundant. If he could endure hardship, then his future achievements would be limitless. Crane's shout caused everyone's heart to tremble. Chapter 339. Yi Zhaogu did not dodge. His eyes flashed a strange red that was hard to detect. The broken sword pointed at everyone and the sky suddenly darkened. Tang Tian was sprinting, using all his strength to sprint. His heavy breathing was like a bellow. His mind was blank. He did not know how long he had been running for. Everyone's face changed. They stared at the freak in shock. The formless sword qi clashed with the golden blade aura, and immediately exploded. The fine air currents caused the surroundings of the golden blade aura to become a blur, as though there were ripples in the water. Liang Qiu's eyes turned red. Even Yong Xianzhong was dumbstruck. He knew that his brother-in-law was powerful, but he did not expect him to be so abnormal. The sword in his hand was placed horizontally in front of his chest, gathering true power. Other than Tang Yi, who was still sitting on his horse, the rest of the Lupus army had all fallen off their horses. Almost a third of them had blood flowing out of their mouths. Tang Yi looked at Yi Zhaogu in the sky in disbelief. He did not dare believe that there was actually someone in the world who could block his blade. I am so sorry to actually wear the same clothes. The black figure in front of him was like a big black crane dancing gracefully. Even at that moment, it was so suave that it caused people's eyes to turn red. Only that one light shout was solemn and firm. Crane sword screen. I just need a while. I am sorry everyone, please hold on for a while more. Everyone knew Tang Yi's following attack would definitely be earth-shattering. All the running, all the hard work, everything was for the sake of stepping onto the battlefield, to be able to fight alongside all of you. The underground base was brightly lit, but there was no one. Not far away, a gigantic sand dune exploded without any warning. Tens of thousands of tons of sand flew hundreds of meters into the sky. Yi Zhaogu looked down at everyone from above. Pa pa pa. Tang Yi's body trembled. Master. What kind of freak is he? Bing's cross slash was like a heavy hammer landing on Yi Zhaoji's back. The bright cross was like a brand on Yi Zhaoji's back. Hello, I am a disciple of the Crane sect. You can call me Crane. Liang Qiu's black and white fist aura seeped into Yi Zhaoji's body, destroying his vitality. Every strand of his hair stood on end. His left palm was as black as ink and his right palm was as white as jade. His palms slowly pushed out and a black and white intertwined light screen appeared in front of the three. They were finally there. I'll just wear black from now on. I'm really sorry, Crane. Why? Cross light shield. Sima Xiangshan's 5 hook-like fingers tore apart Yi Zhaoji's neck effortlessly. Blood spurted high into the air, and Yi Zhaoji's neck drooped down, revealing horrifying flesh and blood. Ling Su's eyes were filled with despair. Bing's pupils suddenly constricted. Yi Zhaogu, with his head drooped down, the badly mutilated Yi Zhaogu, was actually still floating in the air. If he was completely dead, he should be falling down. The flesh and blood on the ground continued to squirm and grow. Am I going to die? Perspiration dripped onto the floor of the recruit barracks. A figure that was as tenacious as raging flames stepped through the light door. Pring. His face was also covered in blood. Blood flowed down from his forehead and covered his entire face. It was an indescribably terrifying sight. Han Bingning's ice sand sword aura coiled around Yi Zhaoji's ankle, causing his ankle to quickly become pale white. The cold intent was like an extreme cold wave, quickly spreading to the other parts of Yi Zhaoji's body. He raised the broken sword in his hand. This warm-up really took a long time. The terrifying true power ignited every inch of the air. The fine air currents were like extremely sharp blades, exploding out in all directions. Everyone who could not dodge in time, all had a few more wounds on their bodies. But everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Such a berserk energy explosion, it was impossible for anyone to survive. Bing appeared in front of the Lupus army. Sky Tiger crossed his arms, his body half squatting, a cross-shaped light screen appearing in front of him. Tang Yi saw it too. If it was any other time, he would definitely be shocked. But at the moment he was rushing forward with all his might. His mind did not have any distracting thoughts. The surging true power around him, causing his blood vessels to expand. Even if it was an undying monster in front of him, he did not have any fear in his heart. It could be seen clearly in the sky, all of the light auras like a tide, rapidly converging towards the Zanbato in Tang Yi's hands. The Zanbato in Tang Yi's hands seemed to be dyed with a layer of gold liquid. Like the sun exploding, the dazzling gold light aura caused the sky to turn white and nothing could be seen. When the light aura dissipated, everyone could then see clearly. The sword in Yi Zhaoji's hand was only left with half a sword. His entire body was covered in blood, as though he had just been fished out from a pool of blood, fresh blood dripping down his body. A maniacal laughter came out from the light, causing everyone's face to change. How is that possible? Yi Zhaogu opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of smoke. The black and white was clearly visible. It was the black and white fist aura that permeated into his body. The maniacal and hysterical roar brought with it a dense killing intent. Ling Su's spear tip exploded a large hole on Yi Zhaoji's thigh, revealing the broken bones inside. Bing's roar caused everyone to wake up, and they immediately moved out of the way. Yi Zhaogu felt as though he was being stared at by an extremely dangerous beast. His entire body tensed up, but he immediately raged, "Scram!" A hoarse and low voice swept across the entire field. The enemies were getting closer and closer. The aura of the soldiers behind him continued to rise. Tang Yi felt as though he was in a blazing hot current. "I'm coming." Bang. Ka ka ka, spider web-like cracks quickly extended out from Sky Tiger's body. "That is the recruit barracks. It is all for the victory that belongs to us." Suddenly, the seemingly dead Yi Zhaoji's left hand moved. Following that was a strange scene, causing everyone to be indescribably shocked. Yi Zhaoji's left hand suddenly rose up, touching his head, and then straightened his head. A trace of blood flowed down Crane's palm. Crane's body did not move, and suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The formless sword cheese current crashed onto the sword screen. His legs trembled slightly, and the ice crystals on his ankles were blown away, and the pale white frostbite disappeared without a trace. Under the rain of sand, a blurry figure holding onto two swords slowly walked out from the rain of sand. Every single person in the army had light regiments of true power that lit up. To everyone, the light regiments could only be considered thin. But when the 200 light regiments merged into one, the imposing aura was like a vast ocean surging forward, causing everyone to feel suffocated. "I'm finally here. Don't tell me that I'm not dead yet? Who can stop me? Who can stop me?" The moment the golden blade aura flew out, the sky seemed to have darkened. All the light auras in the world converged into the golden blade aura. His heavy breathing and heartbeat seemed to be booming beside his ears, perspiration dripping down his wooden face. Tang Tian struggled to move his lips. "Why would I hide behind you? I am the oldest." "Wait a minute, something's wrong." Crane's sword fiercely pierced into his body. Yi Zhaogu was like a powerless puppet. In a moment he was pierced through, coming out from his back, bringing along a rain of blood. Yi Zhaoji's pupils constricted. His slack gaze converged, and the scene in front of him finally changed. Kill. Tang Tian, who stepped through the light door, did not stop. He stepped on the ground, soared into the sky, and struck the ceiling above his head. But he was not resigned to it. "Not a bad battle," Yi Zhaogu sneered, "but it's over." Even if Yi Zhaogu had any schemes, in front of absolute power, there was no chance of survival. "I'm sorry I'm late." He only knew to run with all his might, as though it was his instinct. "It was all because of the promise we made." Everyone was intimidated by Tang Yi's charging, imposing manner. Crane's sword brought out 12 sword images, like a black crane spreading its wings, erecting a sword screen. Countless of formless sword chi, like a dense rainstorm, frantically pounced onto the golden blade aura. Yi Zhaogu suddenly stopped roaring, raising the broken sword in his hand, his face revealing a sinister smile. Countless of formless sword chi spewed out from the broken sword. They revolved quickly around the sword body, converging into a terrifying tornado rushing into the sky. Chapter 340. These two guesses had to be traced back to Tang Tian's mysterious father. Bing was extremely curious. The only regret was that the cross-slash just now was not the cross-slash of heaven and hell. He forgot about the sleepless battles in the suicide room. He forgot about the day and night running after breaking through. He forgot that his body was extremely tired. He felt his heart was burning, his body was burning, but the raging flames lingered around with a thread of coldness. For the first time his face changed. Unless the sword technique inheritance was sealed in Tang Tian's body? Go and die. The most damaging was Tang Tian's cross-slash. So the conspiracy was here. Tang Tian did not reply. Bang. Yi Zhaoji's heart suddenly felt a sense of danger, causing all the hairs on his body to stand. The sand dune exploded, and Yi Zhaogu once again flew into the sky. His appearance was somewhat miserable. The blue and black cross imprint on his chest was extremely terrifying. When the red and blue cross lit up in the sky, Bing felt as though he was struck by lightning. His mind went blank. Memories from a long, long time ago surged into his mind. Because I still have so many doubts. How can I stop here? Yi Xiaogu did not make a sound. A ray of light flashed past his eyes. As expected, Tang Tian's sword technique was slightly inexperienced. Ordinary people might not be able to sense it, but Yi Xiaogu had trained with the sword for so many years, and even the slightest change was instantly captured. The blue and black cross sword light was reflected in his eyes. Yi Xiaogu instinctively used his sword to block in front of his body. But Bing's gaze landed on Tang Tian's body and his tensed nerves relaxed. Tang Tian was truly powerful, he was truly strong. Brat, don't be anxious. Green and red cross scythe, it is slightly difficult to learn. Because of our dreams, the promises we made under the starry sky, no one has ever forgotten. The young man sat on the ground crying, a thick palm patted his head. Ling Su was enlightened. He always thought that Crane did not pull out his sword because he wanted to act cool, so it was because he could not pull it out. The flamingo below him was also exhausted, sitting on the ground on its butt. He lovingly stroked the flamingo's head. His gaze landed on the safe and sound sword in Tang Tian's left hand. This sword actually had such a strange power. I just want to win. As expected of the leader of this group, Tang Tian was stronger than the others. Because its horizontal slash is blue, which symbolizes the sky, and its vertical slash is black, which symbolizes hell. Ling Su relaxed. He was not afraid of death, but if Crane were to die in front of him because of him, he would not be able to rest in peace. A figure wielding a sword silently appeared in front of Tang Tian. Yi Xiaogu. The Saint Sword Ocean Prison in Tang Tian's right hand also slashed out. The sword aura formed by the void dark flames clashed with Yi Xiaoji's formless sword qi, releasing an explosion-like groan. This invisible sword qi had a faint glow to it. The long sword in his hand instantly shattered, and an indescribable force struck his chest. Yi Xiaogu was not surprised that the void dark flames had such power, but I am fighting shoulder to shoulder with everyone. My heart is still beating, my breath is still present, I can still touch the sunlight and smell the wind. Tang Tian's world was very quiet. Only the rumbling of his heartbeat and his bellows-like breathing could be heard. He muttered in his heart as though he was talking to himself, but also as though he was muttering to the thread of ice. Bing secretly shook his head. He planned to go back and ask Old Man Fei what blood meridians did Yi Xiaogu have, to actually be able to withstand such a fatal attack and still be unharmed as though he had an undying body. Dong. I just want to tell you I am Tang Tian. The thunder flame sword aura and the formless sword aura fiercely clashed together, the astonishing power colliding. The dazzling light aura immediately caused Tang Tian's eyes to turn white. Suddenly, a different formless sword qi pierced through the blue and black sword aura, and instantly flew in front of Tang Tian. Rest, that pervert is here. Why is my heart on fire? And this group of people, they really make me look forward to it. Alright, even though this guy came a little late, he still came. I just want to tell you I will definitely defeat you and step on your corpse to advance. The blue light regiment at the safe and sound sword's tip suddenly exploded. Did he finally break through the suicide room? The air was filled with energy and the black flames flew everywhere. Aha, how can I remember such things? The commander laughed, but his face immediately became serious. But this technique you must definitely train hard. Its ultimate technique is very powerful. The safe and sound sword in his left hand suddenly lit up with the same dazzling light aura and fiercely thrust it out. Tang Tian raised his head. The fighting intent in his eyes was so intense that it was hard to look straight at him. Bang! The safe and sound sword in his left hand was enveloped in blue flames. The Saint Sword Ocean Prison in his right hand exploded with black flames, and Tang Tian's figure suddenly disappeared. But Yi Xiaogu would not be defeated so easily. Tang Tian did not continue attacking. The cross slash just now had used up a lot of his energy and his body was too tired. Putting on airs and acting cool. Bang. But something is wrong with this fellow. Other than Tang Tian, there were 3 other people who could injure him: Jing Hao, Crane and Bing. Jing Hao's sword aura was swallowed by his body to less than 10%, but the remaining 10% was extremely stubborn, and used up about 30% of his true power. Crane was the only person who could leave an injury on his body, and was unable to recover. Bing's cross slash was similar to Tang Tian's cross slash, but its power was much weaker. Tang Tian floated in the air, coldly staring at the ground. Yes, it is called Sky and Hell's cross slash. I am the only one who mastered it. Powerful, right? Because Southern Cross constellation is still so far away, how can I fall here? Is the Honorable Martial Alliance really that strong? The dazzling blue light aura instantly condensed at the safe and sound sword's tip, becoming a blue light regiment the size of a fist, striking Yi Zhaoji's sword without any fancy moves. Laughing out loud, Yi Zhaoji's sword chi was like rain. The formless sword chi pounced towards Tang Tian like rain. Tang Tian snorted, both swords slashing horizontally. The blue sword aura and black sword aura similarly pounced towards Yi Zhaogu. Alright, in everyone's eyes in terms of abnormality, this godlike young lad was not inferior to anyone. Abnormality against abnormality, this is how it should be, right? The two of you fight to the death, we will watch the show, cheer and clap, that is how it should be. Bing heaved a sigh of relief, he could no longer hold on. Sky Tiger crumbled, he staggered and struggled out from the fragments. Yi Zhaoji's strength was too terrifying, even if his own strength was not as strong as before, but this abnormal fellow was actually only ranked 6th in the Honorable Martial Alliance? If there was anyone in this group who had the highest possibility of defeating Yi Zhaogu, it could only be Tang Tian, the person who could never be measured by common sense. Tang Tian's figure was enveloped by a layer of faintly discernible flames. His expression was ice cold, causing people to feel unfamiliar. Like raindrops of sand hitting the ground, crackling sounds could be heard. His torn pants could not cover his injured feet, and the rain of sand did not stop his silent but firm footsteps. But a pity, comparing sword techniques you are still lacking. Sky and Hell's Cross slash. That's right, that abnormal person is here. Tang Tian's mouth surfaced a pleased smile, he suddenly roared, safe and sound. Or sealed in Saint Sword Ocean prison. This fellow's injuries are not too serious, right? Because we are going to Southern Cross Constellation, we want to become stronger together, we want to travel through Heaven's Road. Yi Zhaogu laughed, he took out a steel sword from the silver Aquarius cabinet, shook the sword body and suddenly slashed towards Tang Tian. The fellow in front of him was exactly the same. This fellow, exactly how many secrets did he hide? Ultimate consummate technique? The young lad was immediately attracted, his eyes filled with curiosity. Not only him, Ling Su also heaved a sigh of relief. After regaining his composure from the shock, Bing's attention immediately became much sharper. Yi Zhaogu was like a ball that was sent flying, transforming into a perfectly straight black shadow, entering the sand dune. But when he realized that Tang Tian's cross slash, the horizontal slash was black and the vertical slash was blue, Bing heaved a sigh of relief, but for some reason his heart was somewhat disappointed. He could not help but laugh at himself, he always hoped that the commander would leave behind some traces. The two sword auras exploded in the middle of the two of them. Ling Su's face congealed as he looked at Tang Tian, and Crane's expression also congealed. The two of them thought about the battle with Meng Wei and Tang Tian's strange state. Tang Tian did not have any recollection of what happened after the battle. His feet stepped on the soft sand, the flames melted the sand, leaving behind burnt footprints, which were quickly covered by the sand. Don't say it's wishful thinking, don't say it's young and ignorant, don't say it's already decided. Why does my blood have to burn up? Yi Zhaoji's face twitched, the cross imprint on his chest had two strange energies, continuously permeating into his body. Don't say hey, stop dreaming. The young man stopped crying, raised his tear-stained face and asked, did Commander train for a long time too? The huge impact caused the sand dune to explode. Dong. Dong dong dong. You're Tang Tian? Yi Zhaoji's voice came out from the sky. This sword Tang Tian had prepared for a long time, the safe and sound sword's power and the true power in his body surged out. But the sword technique was very strange. The last time when he summoned the Saint Sword Ocean prison, Bing had already made many guesses, and the current dual sword cross slash was not something any ordinary martial artist could use. Other than the fundamental sword techniques, Tang Tian did not learn any other sword techniques. What a weird name, why is it called the Sky and Hell's Cross slash? Crane turned his head with a face of innocence. The sword has ancestor's seal, I am not strong enough so I can't pull it out. Ling Su's heart was moved, his concern continued to churn, but the words that came out of his mouth were, hey, you pretentious brat, why don't you pull out your sword? Tang Tian faintly felt that something was wrong, his state of mind was lingering with a faint ice cold. This ice cold made him extremely sharp. But the burning fighting intent filled every part of his body. This ice cold was completely occupied by the crazed fighting intent that was as hot as lava. Tang Tian roared, the Saint Sword Ocean prison in his hand, suddenly exploded with a black flame and slashed horizontally. Crane. Because there was not much reason. Crane in front of him did not move at all. Wave after wave of formless energy and black flame blue aura exploded out like fireworks. Chapter 341. As if it did not know tiredness, the white whale swam in the silent void. There was a deviation in his estimation. Seemed like he was stronger than he thought. Hey broken sword, do you know why I did not agree to hand you over? Yi Zhaoji's last slap made Tang Tian groan and fly back to the sand dune. Again and again and again. Man Yuan shut his mouth and did not speak, his round face was stupefied. He will not die. Man Yuan shook his head. I have studied his blood meridians, his life force is very strong unless... I accidentally said too much nonsense, actually I only wanted to say one thing. The two forces merged into one, his body was like it was fiercely hit. He turned into an untraceable afterimage and flew far away. There must be some reason for you to disregard everything. She did everything she could and you do not want to be a trash. Bang. So tired. Suddenly Tang Tian found that his vision was becoming blurry. The blue light burst out, pierced many holes on Yi Zhaoji's body. Yi Zhaoji's last slap, Tang Tian could clearly see that the palm was already badly mutilated. Stop dreaming. You even need her to sacrifice your life, well my ass. You shrink your head and hide in a corner, in the end you will only be crushed by someone's finger, then you will die and others will laugh at you. Haha Dino, there was an idiot woman who actually wasted her life for such a trash broken sword. She was so stupid that no medicine could cure her. Others thought she was stupid, of course they would also think I was stupid. But I feel shouldn't this world be like this? This kind of thing should be protected. You can't think about everything calmly. Not everything you can measure with gains and losses. The blue light was like a sword, effortlessly pierced through Yi Zhaoji's body, and shot out from his back. The determination of a sword. She hoped that you would be safe and sound. The sensational effect of this battle was far stronger than the last time. Young lady, I really miss you. Crazy, cold, valiant, this kind of guy was really hard to deal with. Zhang Ming, he rubbed his forehead. Yi Zhaogu. It opened its mouth, which was full of scars but was naturally curved like an eternal smile, and spat out a circle of snow-white bubbles. Man Yuan came to a sudden understanding and then he nodded and said seriously, I've said it before, this is the result of not studying properly. Out of all of us he was the only one who disliked going to class the most. He had already broken the academy's record for failing a subject. Countless facts had proven that blindly fighting valiantly and charging head-on would inevitably result in failure. If practice deviates from theory it will inevitably. Do you know how much I miss you? Zhang Ming, he was very familiar with him, and with one look he knew that seventh brother should have found Yi Zhaoji's weakness, and was extremely excited. Among them sixth brother Yi was the #1 stalker. Everyone had a headache. If not for the fact that the Honorable Martial Alliance was the strongest aristocratic family in Heaven's Road, with Yi Zhaoji's strength, it was enough for him to become a constellation master on any planet, and sit on a piece of land. His body was already on the verge of collapse. Now that his mind was relaxed, fatigue engulfed him like a tide. Saint Bestowal and the weather? Zhang Ming, his bright face was startled by the proposition. Zhang Ming, he thought about all the subjects that he had failed and broke out in cold sweat. He coughed lightly. Don't be like that, we are all classmates, it's lucky that you didn't die. Zhang Ming, he immediately had a headache, he was thinking of how to pry the information out of the fellow's mouth, but he was not here for that matter. Sixth brother Yi was ambushed in Lupus constellation. The white whale's pitch-black eye sockets suddenly dropped sparkling and translucent tears, transforming into sparkling and translucent crystals, disappearing into the enchanting blue sea of light. He had never seen a person who was so ruthless and crazy towards himself. She did everything she could and you better not be trash. Did I win? The raging waves of true power behind him suddenly seemed to be attracted, and rushed towards the snow-white bubble. Yi Zhaoji's Heaven's Road ranking was 4444, which was a ranking that symbolized death. To be able to fight his way into the top 5,000 of the Heaven Road list before the age of 25, such a genius, even in the Honorable Martial Alliance, could be counted with one's fingers. Ever since Yi Zhaogu had come out, he had been looked upon favorably by everyone. He was even seen as the most likely genius to step into the sacred saint galaxy amongst the younger generation of the Honorable Martial Alliance. Furthermore, he was from the Yi family and his father was a middle-ranking elder of the Honorable Martial Alliance, possessing enough resources to make people jealous. The white whale opened his eyes. His eye sockets were empty, only a bottomless darkness. He suddenly shut his mouth. Other than fighting, do you have any other choice? No problem. Zhang Ming, he exposed a cunning look. First tell me my weakness. But seeing Man Yuan's mouth shut, Zhang Ming, he knew that seventh brother Yi did not want to say. Wait a minute, he suddenly looked at Man Yuan suspiciously. Don't tell me you also studied me? Ah. Tang Tian, I will come and find you. I will come and find you. Inside the blue sea of light, it used all of its strength to move its body, and used all of its strength to use its tail to strike the sea of light. Yi Zhaogu and the rest were the true sons of heaven, the future rulers of heaven's road. Yi Zhaoji's mission completion rate in the Honorable Martial Alliance was a famous 100%, which also meant that he had never failed before. Well said. Seventh brother, what have you been busy with recently? Zhang Ming, he grabbed onto Man Yuan. Damn it, I can't afford to offend a scholar. Inside the empty sword body, a white whale covered in scars silently swam around. Its tail carried a faintly discernible flame, both of its eyes were closed, its thick and wide forehead was filled with countless of scars, and the word safe and well was engraved on it. Zhang Ming, his eyes lit up. You found sixth brother Ye's weakness? In the void, the exhausted white whale looked at the direction where the light pillar disappeared. The southern sky's 42 constellations in the eyes of the northern sky people was a rural place. But in the eyes of the polar people it was a rural place. And in the eyes of Qi Daoist, oh, it must be very far. If not for their age, their strength would not be strong enough, but everyone believed that all of them would have their own positions in the top 100 of the Heaven Road list. And in the eyes of the 12 ecliptic palaces, alright, let us talk about the problem of our great Heaven's Road axis. Go and analyze the images. Man Yuan said excitedly. Man Yuan saw that Zhang Ming, he seemed to be interested and immediately became excited. That's right, there really is a connection. I picked 300 recorded saint cases to analyze and proved 1 point. The influence of the sky air on the probability of being bestowed as a saint is roughly 3% to 5%. The thin stream converged into the sea and the slight waves gave rise to angry waves. Blood sprinkled down from the sky, and Yi Zhaoji's insane laughter came out from afar. He definitely had the intention to leave long ago, but never thought that he would not reveal it at all. Even his last slap, Tang Tian thought that he had some ultimate technique. That's right, sixth brother Yi was almost beaten to a pulp. Zhang Ming, he was obviously in a dilemma. He was rejoicing in Yi Zhaoji's failure, but he also felt that being attacked in southern sky was a loss of face for everyone, so he immediately added, he was surrounded and beaten up. I heard that there was a nephew of the Sagittarius Empress. The Empress had already said that only sixth brother Yi was allowed to go. The blue angry wave was compressed into a blue light pillar by the white bubble tearing through the air. This is my longing, this is my vow to fight for you. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? He immediately fainted. The blue light regiment that was compressed to its limit suddenly exploded. Yi Zhaoji's eyes opened wide, a flash of disbelief flashing past his eyes. This is. Zhang Ming, he started to have a headache and immediately shouted, Stop, stop. That's right, sixth brother Yi tripped this time. His injuries are not light. The surging power seemed to have come late and suddenly exploded out. Yi Zhaoji's mouth suddenly revealed a crazy smile. His left palm used all of his strength, and heavily smashed onto the safe and sound sword. Do you have any battle experience? Man Yuan's wooden face, his eyes lit up. Looking at Yi Zhaoji's competitors, there was no need to talk about the Honorable Martial Alliance. Lion King Lei Ang's son, Sagittarius Empress disciple, Onyx Soul's 12 dark children, etc. What Equatorial Palace Master's son, all of them looked at the circle and wanted to squeeze in no matter how hard they tried, but could only walk around outside the circle. But this time they were actually attacked by a nameless junior active in the southern sky constellation, naturally causing everyone to be curious. He suddenly raised his head to the sky and roared, the void surging endlessly. Only by fighting and winning, can you prove that you are alive, can you prove that her sacrifice was worth, that her choice was right. Only then can you let everyone know that her sacrifice that year, her conviction that year was not stupid at all, not idiotic at all. A cold and mocking voice sounded out in Tang Tian's heart, but Tang Tian thought it was his misconception. He raised his head to look at Yi Zhaogu, who had already turned into a small black dot, and could not help but feel admiration. Man Yuan's eyes looked at his nose looked at his heart and did not move an inch. You are no longer here, only I am safe and sound. Sixth brother Yi? Man Yuan's expression became blank again. So, broken sword, you have to fight not for me but for yourself, for Meng Wei. At least you have to make her sacrifice not look stupid, not idiotic. Man Yuan's reaction was half a beat slow, and was pulled back by Zhang Minghe. He was stunned for 3 seconds and then his blank eyes recovered. Oh Minghe. I am researching on the influence of the weather on the probability of being bestowed as a saint. Idiot. Surging true power surged into the sword blade, countless of blue light dots surging into the void as though it was glowing seawater. The white whale swayed its huge body, stirring the sky full of light dots. It swam very quickly and the light dots rolled up like seawater, gathering by its side. Lupus constellation? Southern sky? Man Yuan finally revealed a moved expression. Seems like a powerful person has appeared. The opponent used a star treasure that interferes with energy. Zhang Minghe revealed a disappointed expression when he saw Man Yuan, and then said proudly, but I still managed to get a recording. For you to live, Meng Wei gave her life to you. Even sacrificing her life for the sake of protecting you in her heart, you must be very precious. The white figure rolled up a blue raging wave, the ice-cold true power piercing into the bones, but it did not feel anything. Chapter 342. Seventh brother rubbed his nose. Ling Su's spear techniques has a shadow of the ancient Aries constellation spear techniques. He most likely obtained the inheritance of the Silver Frost Mounts. The history of Aries constellation was the history of the Silver Frost Mounts, and the glory of Aries constellation was the glory of the Silver Frost Mounts. The Aries spear of stars was the best under the heavens, and this was definitely not an exaggeration. The Honorable Martial Alliance and Onyx Soul had a long history, and with regards to grooming young people, they had fumbled out an extremely outstanding method. It was because of this outstanding grooming method that the Honorable Martial Alliance had such a strong position. These 4 people, Amauri, Han Bingning, Liang Qiu and Sima Xiangshan. Seventh brother said simply, Amauri and Han Bingning have the highest potential, while Liang Qiu and Sima Xiangshan can enter the clan elder level. With abundant resources, the guidance of famous teachers, the competitive system, the top 100 students of the Honorable Martial Alliance, placed in any constellation, they were all top students. All of them were not nameless people. Seventh brother glanced at him and said, the Crane sect is not as weak as you think. In the 122nd row of the records room, in the 7th row of the 9th cabinet, you can find a notebook. It is a notebook left behind by an elder of the Martial Association, Xianxia, 800 years ago. In the records, it mentions the process of him fighting with the Crane's spiritual master. Heroes were all in the wilderness. Of course, this was just potential, and potential was always full of variables. Seventh brother's words immediately attracted Zhang Minghe's attention. Such a pity, if only I could use it. If Ling Su could truly bring the Aries Spear of Stars to greater heights, then he would definitely have the qualifications to be ranked amongst the strongest martial artists of the current generation. Seventh brother replied with certainty, his eyes shining with a strange light aura. Zhang Minghe was stunned. Top 50? Are you sure? Seventh brother's round face became solemn. An extremely powerful group of people. Regardless if it was an inheritance or a star treasure, the higher the grade, the higher the requirement for the martial artist. Talent and temperament they could not be lacking. Suddenly he was very curious about Tang Tian. Even with his status, he wasn't qualified to recruit these 2 people. What right did Tang Tian have to become the leader of these people? Are you for real? Zhang Minghe's face was full of suspicion. If you want to talk about Tang Tian, it's fine, but are Ling Su and Crane that strong? Sacred Saint Galaxy. Zhang Minghe revealed a serious expression. When they were young, their relationship was still very simple. After the age of 12, many things were beyond their control. Seven didn't like these fights. He didn't argue and just said, what a waste. It's not surprising that Jing Hao has improved a lot. Shao Qi said seriously, It's not without reason that many elders think highly of him. He's very talented and has a strong heart. The reason why his ranking isn't high is because he chose to comprehend sword arts on his own. This path was too dangerous, but once it was completed, it would be a completely different world. From the looks of it now, he has already touched the threshold and is qualified to join us. He was beaten so badly by sixth brother Yi because he had just comprehended it. But he didn't die this time, and his strength will definitely continue to improve. Then what about Tang Tian? Zhang Ming, he asked. Amauri and the other three were still fine, but Ling Su and Crane, one had top-grade inheritances, the other was a disciple of a famous family and was talented and intelligent. The two of them were not people he could recruit. He did not dare to. Ling Su was a huge problem, and recruiting him meant becoming enemies with Aries constellation. Recruit Crane? He reckoned that the Empress would directly slap him. Crane sect? Zhang Ming, he snorted. That kind of countryside place is only SE. If he returns to Sagittarius constellation, then he will be our enemy. In the family, young disciples who had the potential to become clan elders would receive meticulous grooming. And Amauri and Han Bingning had even higher potential, which meant that they would at least become middle-level clan elders. To a family, they could already be considered as the core strength. They were like the roots of a tree. Sounds very powerful. Zhang Ming, he muttered. No wonder Jinghao's elders did not say anything. Such a group of people, if they were to grow up, they would be incredible. Jinghao might not be able to defeat them. Zhang Ming, he did not say anything. Such a powerful battle record was slightly scary. Zhang Ming, he straightened his attitude, and felt that he had truly underestimated the Crane sect. Every single person who was able to open up a constellation was a powerful person. Don't look at how the southern skies 42 constellations were countryside places in their eyes. But the pioneers of the constellations were all tyrants in their era. Although Zhang Ming, he was not as proficient in the history of the Honorable Martial Group as seventh brother, but he knew that the Honorable Martial Group was not always as strong as it was now, and there were many times when the Honorable Martial Group was weak. Even their biggest enemy, Onyx Soul, was almost uprooted a few times. There's nothing to pity about. Zhang Ming, he scoffed. At most, after being bestowed as a saint, don't mention Yijio. Even if the entire Yi family objected, it would be useless. Alright, continue. Jinghao is a good person, but his teacher is lacking. Zhang Ming, he disapproved of Jinghao's teacher. If his teacher did not cower from the start, nothing would have happened, and what does Cetus constellation amount to? But he cowered and allowed Yijio to be in the right, so if Jinghao does that again, it will be inappropriate, and Yijio will definitely not let it go so easily. Of course, if Ling Su's talent and temperament were not enough, no one would care if he died. To be able to obtain the Silver Frost Mount's inheritance, he is definitely not a mediocre person. Zhang Ming, he muttered to himself. In his heart, he had already placed Ling Su on the same level as him. Ling Su had a fiery temper, while Crane had a better temper, but which aristocratic family disciple did not have their eyes on the top of their heads? But the two of them actually listened to Tang Tian. But what truly surprised me is that Tang Tian is the martial artist with the most complicated fighting strength that I have ever seen. In any era, those who stepped into the Saint Galaxy were all top-notch martial artists. To be bestowed as a saint was the dream of all of them, but the road was extremely dangerous. Don't look at how they were brimming with talent and had resources that others could never hope to obtain, but to be bestowed as a saint was a minority. No one dared to guarantee that they would be bestowed as a saint in the end. The Honorable Martial Alliance had a long history and there were countless of elders, so he naturally did not remember them all. That's right. Extremely powerful. Seventh brother praised. These three people's talent, I'm afraid they are not any worse than us. Seventh brother was the most popular out of the 10. He had a simple background and was infatuated with research. He did not have any interest in the struggle for power and walked the path of a scholar. Such a person no one dared to offend. Regardless of who held power in the future, there would definitely be a position for him among the top elders of the Honorable Martial Group. Xianxia? Zhang Ming, his handsome face frowned, revealing an expression of deep thought. I think I have some impression of her. He also dispelled the thought of recruiting them. Zhang Ming, he scratched his chin. He was surprised. There were many levels of elders in the Honorable Martial Group, but to be able to enter the elder level meant that they were separated from ordinary martial artists. He had already started to participate in the family affairs, and he was very clear that for a family to have a stable position in the Honorable Martial Group, other than having people at the top, they had to have people at the bottom. The important targets are Ling Su, Crane and Tang Tian. Seventh brother's expression became even more solemn, but his eyes were filled with light. The inheritance of the 12 ecliptic palaces was not some common stuff. Seventh brother said calmly. Seventh brother did not care about Zhang Minghe, who was making a fuss about nothing, and pretended not to hear anything. The Qiushan that Zhang Minghe spoke of was the third-ranked Qiushan. Any sacred saint domain was worthy of respect. Zhang Minghe regained his senses. The three of them should be very powerful. Tang Tian's strength is already extremely strong. If placed in the martial group's academy, he would be ranked around 50. That was why he was able to snipe sixth brother Yi when he was constantly injured and exhausted. It is hard to imagine that a martial artist without sufficient resources, lacking the guidance of a master, could actually reach such a height at such a young age. Chapter 343. Zhang Minghe suddenly frowned. Tang Tian is only ranked 50+ and Ling Su and Crane are ranked 200+. That doesn't make sense. Even with Jing Hao, such a group of people, it is impossible to beat sixth brother Yi to such a state. Oh. Look carefully, the blue aura is actually formed by countless of blue specks of dust. That is the ice blue heart. Seventh brother said calmly. The ice blue heart is a rare poison. Seventh brother, you are my blood-related brother, big brother, whatever orders you have, this little brother will go through fire and water. Zhang Minghe's expression froze. Even if there was a commotion outside to Tang Tian, it did not cause any ripples in his heart. Only power was the most important. Which one? Zhang Minghe's eyes widened. You think that Tang Tian and that person from Gemini constellation are related? Zhang Minghe's expression was exaggerated, as though he had heard a funny joke. Everyone knew, although Lupus constellation was barren, but as long as Tang Tian and the rest were alive, they would definitely be the #1 constellation in southern sky. But even more people were curious, what would Tang Tian and the rest do next? With Tang Tian and the rest's strength, the small Lupus constellation was unable to contain them. Now that you mentioned it, I remembered. Zhang Minghe immediately said, Tang Tian used Fire Scythe Ghost Claw in the past. I remember that there are some Eastern martial techniques that have such a technique. Zhang Minghe felt that his lessons were not in vain. Wasn't that blue aura released by the safe and sound sword? Zhang Minghe knew that his eyesight was not as good as seventh brother, but he could not help but ask. Yes, very few people know that it can corrode a person's state of mind. But if you are able to resist the corrosion, it can allow your state of mind to become extremely calm. In the past, martial artists used it to train their state of mind, but its side effects were huge and it was very dangerous, so fewer and fewer people used it. Southern Cross Army? That was over 10,000 years ago. What spirit general can live for so long? Zhang Minghe did not believe it. In comparison, his own power was much more complicated and fancy, and its effects were not as good as his opponents. The battle with Yi Zhaogu had given him a more intuitive understanding of power. Seven said calmly, Yi Zhaogu underestimated him. Oh, it's also possible that he's been suppressing his emotions for too long. According to my analysis, Yi Zhaogu has an obvious tendency to get hurt. He seems to find joy in being hurt. Another reason was that Tang Tian's group was very cohesive and united. It's rare to see such a united team. I have high hopes for them. There was nothing complicated about it, but this simple and violent combination had forged an incomparably ferocious expert. Almost at the same time, the other constellations in the southern sky all sent out messengers to congratulate Tang Tian on winning the Lupus constellation. Gemini constellation? Zhang Minghe had a look of suspicion. It has been sealed for many years. Seventh brother said, you obviously have very little understanding of mechanical techniques. The Mo family has developed a brand new mechanical weapon, adding in martial spirits, called mechanical spirit weapons. An Onyx Soul has developed a type of Blood Meridian's weapon which is also very strong. All these signs show that the second golden age of mechanical techniques is coming. And Immortal constellation of the northern sky's 19 continents is said to have a close relationship with Tang Tian. You want me to show Miss you the evidence? There are images and the truth. Unique martial technique. Seventh brother's eyes widened. He was surprised. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw actually has the potential to become a unique martial technique. Seems like my research still missed out on many good things. The Southern Cross Army is made up of mechanical weapons. The current mechanical techniques have declined. Zhang Ming, he had a look of disapproval. At Yi Zhaoji's level? I'm just saying. Seventh brother glanced at Zhang Ming. Who are you showing that expression to? Ice Blue Heart and Void Dark Flames. They are both unorthodox. Very few people know of them, and even fewer know of the combination of the two. If I did not see a senior's note, I would definitely not know of it. These two substances are the exact opposite. The Void Dark Flames are violent, while the Ice Blue Heart is calm, and to be able to combine these two opposing powers into one such a technique is extremely rare. Not knowing why, Tang Tian did not feel sad, but instead heaved a sigh of relief as though his life had returned to its original path. Towards the mysterious power in his body, he always had an instinctive resistance. All sorts of rumors were spreading, and many constellations in the northern sky had sent out messengers to Lupus constellation, hoping to build a good relationship with Tang Tian. The martial artist with the most complicated fighting strength? Zhang Ming, he was startled. After separating from the bizarre state, the familiarity with sword techniques had also disappeared. Speaking of which, I do have some conjectures. Inside Tang Tian's body or inside his sword, there are some sword techniques that have been passed down. That's why it resulted in such a scene. His sword techniques are somewhat rusty. That's not strange. Sword techniques are sealed inside the saint sword, and sword saints like to do that. The black flames in his right hand are the Void Dark Flames, but take note of the blue aura in his left hand. The next time you peek at a woman bathing, remember to use a star treasure that disrupts the energy. Yes, 20 years. Seventh brother frowned. That year they suddenly closed all the star doors. It was really weird. I did not hear any news about it and do not know how Gemini constellation is doing now. After that battle, Lupus constellation became the strongest constellation in the southern sky's 42 constellations. Seventh brother glanced at Zhang Ming. Just like how you like to watch women bathe. Tang Tian planned to use this period of time to sort out his own martial techniques. His own martial techniques were not weak, but it was obvious that he had not combined them together to form his own fighting style. Lend me this thing to study for a few days. He is a typical Southern Cross Army fighting style, very typical. Other than this guess, I can't think of any other possibility. Seventh brother shook his head. The most heaven-defying martial artist of the southern sky's 42 constellations, to be able to carve out a path of blood in the northern sky, was already extremely powerful. Zhang Ming, he was like a cat that had its tail stepped on. Hey, seventh brother, you can't say such things. Fire Scythe Ghost Claw. Seventh brother was surprised. He was extremely familiar with the martial techniques of the Honorable Martial Group, and naturally knew what kind of martial technique Fire Scythe Ghost Claw was. Although Fire Scythe Ghost Claw was not bad among the rank 6 martial techniques, but in his eyes, it was not good enough. Seventh brother extended out a finger and said mysteriously, "Also, don't forget about the other one." Zhang Ming, he who was stifled, immediately smiled. "What has it got to do with me? I'm just curious. I can't wait for Ling Su or Tang Tian to become even stronger. Sixth brother Yi and third brother Qi are in trouble. How great would that be?" Poison? Zhang Ming, he jumped in fright. Being injured? Zhang Ming, he felt a chill down his spine, but upon thinking about Yi Zhaogu, he felt that seventh brother was right. Lupus constellation was extremely barren, with thin energy. Other than having a large population, it did not have any other advantages. Following the Empress interference, the silence of the Honorable Martial Alliance immediately made everyone understand that the outcome was set. Even if the Honorable Martial Alliance were not satisfied, that was a matter for the future. Tang Tian did not have the time to care about the messengers. He finally understood the difference between him and the true geniuses. Finished, seventh brother swaggered off. Yes, look at his weapon. In his right hand is the Saint Sword Ocean Prison's projection, in his left is the Safe and Sound Sword, but look carefully, his sword techniques are not very proficient. Seventh brother's observation was extremely sharp. But with Tang Tian as the representative of Lupus constellation, he had successfully sniped Yi Zhaogu, and that was an absolute dark horse. When many people heard the news, they did not think much of it and thought that Yi Zhaogu was being lenient. But after knowing that Yi Zhaogu had dragged his broken body back to the Honorable Martial Alliance, they did not say a word. No problem, definitely not a problem. Take note of Tang Tian's footwork. Seventh brother continued. It should be a unique martial technique. You can go to the Immortal Martial Alliance and ask about it. In this aspect, the Immortal Martial Alliance is much more informed than us. Look at that cross slash. It is very similar to Tang Tian's Spirit General. If I am not wrong, Tang Tian's Spirit General is most likely a survivor of the Southern Cross Army. Chapter 344. Compared to Tang Yi's Lupus Army, Huangfu Hong's heavy armor army suffered even more losses. Yi Zhaoji's indiscriminate attacks caused half of the heavy armor army to perish. What made Huangfu Hong even more desperate was that the surviving martial artists had already lost their courage to fight. Belle did not ask any questions and quickly used her own channels to purchase a few videos. These videos were extremely expensive. Just a few videos alone cost over 60 million star coins. One hit, one kill. A group of people brimming with talent in the same team. The man in the video was in the prime of his life. He was not tall, his body was sturdy, his upper body was naked, his hands were empty-handed, but his entire body emitted an extremely dangerous aura like a wild beast. His opponent was a female swordsman with a stern expression. But currently, this name had become the symbol of Lupus Constellation. Even if he was just watching the video, the astonishing fierceness would still pounce on him. He could imagine if the Blade Lady personally experienced this technique, her state of mind would definitely be lost. They could rely on some unique characteristics and at certain times, they would obtain impressive battle results, but that was only because people were not familiar with them. Once they entered everyone's vision, they would be constantly analyzed and questioned, and their weak points would be exposed, their living environment would suddenly worsen, and their enemies would become even stronger. Dark Horse? Bing sneered in his heart, but he was filled with confidence for the future. Tang Tian shook his head. There were no weak occupations, only attainments. This was something he understood. Tang Tian's heart moved. Could it be that his attainments were not deep enough? From the start, the man was being suppressed by the Blade Lady. But after watching for a minute, Tang Tian finally saw some clues. Although the man was being suppressed, but his defense was tight and his steps were not messed up. After this battle, everyone's overall strength would increase by leaps and bounds, and that was something worth being happy about. In a team, there were actually so many talented martial artists. Even Bing, who was experienced and knowledgeable, was surprised. Furthermore, everyone's cohesiveness was astonishing. It was a very united team. When the time reached 3 minutes and 6 seconds, the Blade Lady finally could not hold it in any longer. She was about to use a powerful technique, but the man in front of her suddenly shot out like an arrow, rushing towards her. Direct and efficient, fierce beyond compare. That was Tang Tian's first impression of the video. This world was always so realistic. Only by possessing strength could one gain the respect of others. Huangfu Hong watched as the heavy armored army died. The pain made him feel as though his soul was being sucked out. No matter which angle the enemy's arrow came from, he could accurately shoot it down. More importantly, everyone's strength had increased. Tang Tian was in closed-door cultivation, Jing Hao was in closed-door cultivation, Ling Su was in closed-door cultivation, Crane was also in closed-door cultivation, Aimo Li and the other 3 were also in closed-door cultivation. It's a little familiar. Bing thought about the scene when everyone created the Southern Cross Army. Wasn't it this group of people? Buy it. Tang Tian was straightforward. His left hand was like a hook as he grabbed Tang Tian's arm. His right palm was like a switchblade as he bent his elbow. It was so fast that even Tang Tian couldn't catch it. What could be remembered by people was always a legend. The 6 identical figures caused the archers to panic. Tang Yi's Lupus army had become famous after the battle and was highly praised. Furthermore, the Lupus army had suffered huge losses and needed fresh blood. Tang Yi's command was 500 men, and the Lupus army would be expanded to 500 men. The battle changed at the 22nd minute. He entered the light door and ran to 3 Spirit City to find Belle. Huangfu Hong's face was flushed red. Although he was not a famous general, but he had controlled the heavy armored army for many years, and had become the assistant of a spirit military leader, causing him to feel ashamed. In any place, the neutral local powerhouses were the backbone of the power, and were the hardest to rope in. The soft snake-like arms coiled around the archer's body like a snake. The man's techniques were outstanding and his defense was watertight. The female swordswoman carefully maintained a distance from the man, while the man was extremely patient. Both parties were practicing offense and defense. Do you know what a close quarters combat expert is? Is the close quarters combat expert inherently weak? In the second video, the close quarters combat expert was a skinny man. His opponent was an archer with excellent light body techniques. The first half of the video was extremely boring. Both parties attacked and defended. The skinny man's body was like a snake that could move at any angle without any blind spots. The messengers from various places, the local powerhouses defecting, the recovery after the war, all made her, the former bandit leader, enter a brand new life. But on her face she was always smiling. Not only her, the entire Lupus constellation was in a state of jubilation. Tang Tian's reputation had reached an unprecedented height. Bing's experience in grooming new recruits was extremely rich, and his eyes were shrewd and ruthless. This group of people's talents were all very strong. Even a Maori and the other three far surpassed ordinary people. Needless to say, Tang Tian and the other three, they were all abnormal. Even without resources, without the guidance of famous teachers, these people were still dazzling and eye-catching. He thought about everything that had happened in the past and finally understood it was because of these 4 words. Old Fart Wei suggested that he walk the path of a close quarters combat expert, and close quarters combat experts required many offensive methods, so he started to dabble in it. Belle was surprised. This is a very unpopular profession. The battle between the two parties was extremely intense. Tang Tian jumped in shock. The man's sudden burst of speed was extremely shocking. Like a flash of lightning, he rushed to the front of the female blade artist. But it was not that there were no benefits to the battle. Bing, who was a vengeful person, decided in his heart that he would definitely take revenge in the future. The living environment of Lupus constellation was harsh, but with a large population, it produced a large number of warriors, and the reverence and worship of the Lupus people towards power was much more intense than other constellations. Bing did not feel much joy from the victory. What kind of victory was that? For this battle they had spent billions of star coins and the opponent was just one person. In other people's eyes, Tang Tian and the rest had created a miracle. But in Bing's eyes, it was a huge humiliation, and the destruction of Sky Tiger made his mood extremely bad. He became a captive and was sent to Homa Air by the local Lupus tribe. Can you find the footage of their battle? Tang Tian asked anxiously. On their escape route, they were continuously attacked by the Lupus tribe, and the heavy armor army that had lost their courage. No matter how much Huang Fu Hong struggled, they did not have the courage to fight. Furthermore, he knew that the Yi family would definitely not let it go, and definitely had other plans waiting for them. Before the battle, Tang Tian had already controlled Lupus constellation, but at that time there were many powerhouses, who were outwardly obedient but inwardly opposed, harboring ulterior motives. And after experiencing the battle, Tang Tian's reputation was like the sun in the sky, and all the arrogant and untamed strong martial artists of Lupus were finally convinced. Don't let your imagination run wild, there are still many things to do. Suddenly, Tang Tian realized that he had never seriously thought about the words, close quarters combat expert. His understanding of close quarters combat expert was actually only close quarters combat. The sudden change caused the swordswoman to become flustered, and her blade techniques became lax. The archer's true power was greatly depleted, and his steps had already started to become sluggish. The distance between the two sides was slowly shrinking. Just at that moment, the skinny man's body suddenly became 6. The barren and desolate Lupus constellation finally experienced the feeling of being able to hold one's head high. Close quarters combat expert. Reputation was real. The current Tang Tian and the rest were no longer nameless pawns, and had a small reputation in the entire Heavens Road. After the battle, the Mo family's confidence in them was simply strong to the point of bursting. Tang Tian immediately blushed with shame. He felt that he had to see what a true close quarters combat expert was like. Homa Air was so busy that her feet did not even touch the ground. From today onwards you are a captive, your life belongs to me. Bing did not talk nonsense. From today onwards you will be Tang Yi's assistant, work well. Tang Tian sat cross-legged in deep thought. The usually unserious face was currently extremely focused. One hit, one kill. The head flew up. Tang Tian had obtained the treasure and he opened the first video. If you want to die you can kill yourself. Bing coldly said and did not bother with him anymore. At that time the Southern Cross Army was the true tyrant of the world. Such a tyrant in any era would not be inferior. Even the current Lion King Leong had not reached the height of the Southern Cross Army. Thinking about it, there was nothing wrong. Tang Tian scratched his head, but why was he still weaker than Yi Xiaogu? The outside world used the word dark horse to describe Tang Tian and the rest. But it was only limited to that. Every year in Heaven's Road, there would always be a few dark horses, but these dark horses, just like how they rose from nowhere, 90% of them would disappear without a trace. Yes. Bell nodded, but the price will definitely not be cheap. He suddenly laughed involuntarily. He was thinking too much. Lupus Constellation's current position was something that had never been seen before in history. When the other constellations of the southern skies, 42 constellations, talked about the battle, all of them were filled with admiration and respect. Even the high and mighty northern sky constellations were much more courteous. Tang Tian was a name not long ago to the Lupus constellation. It was extremely unfamiliar. The strong ones were respected not only because of the respect for strength, but also because the strong ones could bring a better life for everyone and bring more space for the race to reproduce. Even if they had to leave Lupus constellation, they had to ensure that Lupus constellation was in their hands. All the strong martial artists of the various tribes, all came to seek shelter. The man fiercely elbowed. His entire body was like a battering ram, forcefully crashing into the blade aura of the female blade artist. That was the specialty of a dark horse. In many people's eyes, Tang Tian was already the master of Lupus constellation, but Bing knew Tang Tian would not stay here for long. He needed to arrange everything before Tang Tian went into closed-door cultivation. He did not wish to spend so much manpower and money to fight this battle, only to benefit others. Tang Tian's heart turned cold as he watched. So fierce. He had so many martial techniques, but in front of Yi Xiaogu they were all flashy. But why did he have so many martial techniques? Tang Tian knew he was not very smart. He slowly recalled, trying to find the root of the problem. The expansion of the Lupus army would gather the most elite power of the entire Lupus constellation. The dark horse would be discussed enthusiastically by everyone, but that was only limited to that. Everyone was now looking forward to the latest immortal martial news, to see what Tang Tian's ranking would be. Why was he so much weaker than Yi Xiaogu? Although he was once again unfamiliar with the sword, but the sword techniques and information that surged into his mind did not disappear, and he had a rather deep understanding of the void dark flames. What was he best at? Tang Tian smiled bitterly. If it was in the past, he would definitely say that it was intuition. When dealing with ordinary martial artists, Tang Tian's intuition, which far surpassed that of ordinary people, allowed him to be like a fish in water. But in front of an enemy like Yi Xiaogu, his little intuition was completely useless. Tang Tian was not afraid of Yi Xiaoji's imposing manner at all. Instead, he was eager to give it a try. His wind concealment steps was a unique martial technique. It might not be the fastest, but it was very suitable for sneak attacks and dodging. But if the opponent's light body technique was not bad, then just by relying on the wind concealment steps, he would not be able to hold on. The void dark flames was a type of flame, and his own martial spirit was also a silver flame. If he mixed in a thread of void dark flames, what would happen? Upon thinking that the blood rush shield was unable to deal with Yi Xiaogu, Tang Tian felt that he needed to think of another way. He needed a way to block Yi Xiaoji's formless sword qi. Tang Tian frowned and thought hard. In the eyes of ordinary people, to deal with a perverse person like Yi Xiaogu, using an attack to counter an attack was definitely not a good idea. Yi Xiaogu was too crazy. This kind of craziness was already a type of craziness that did not care about the consequences, and was close to self-destruction. This kind of craziness determined his fighting style and also made his attacks even more severe, even more disregarding everything. Could the air shield strike technique deal with Yi Xiaoji's formless sword qi? Tang Tian thought for a long time and felt that it was not possible. The air shield strike technique required the use of a shield, and more importantly, this martial technique was more inclined towards attack. Tang Tian thought about the state he was in during the battle that day, and his mind moved and a brazen idea popped out. Tang Tian thought about the air shield strike technique that he did not place much importance on. He felt that it was for the blood rush shield and its usage was limited. The blood rush shield was the standard equipment of the Ophiuchus army, and its quality was relatively good. It was more than enough to deal with ordinary martial artists, but against Yi Zhaogu, it was definitely not enough. The blood rush shield was unable to block Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi. This idea was extremely enticing. In Wu Wanghai's sword technique, there were a few techniques that used the void dark flame specialty, and was similar to Tang Tian's idea. It was just that Wu Wanghai used the void dark flames to permeate into his body, and made himself even more berserk. When Tang Tian came out again, he looked extremely miserable, but his face was brimming with a cheerful smile. The training this time had proven his idea, and intuition had a huge relationship with his own state of mind. And when the opponent's attack rhythm was disrupted and revealed a flaw, the following attack would definitely be extremely sharp, and only then would he be able to reach the standard of a one-hit one-kill. Yi Zhaogu definitely revolved his true power, but the method he used to revolve his true power was definitely different. Then how should he attack? The void dark flames was an extremely berserk energy in the void. Before Wu Wanghai, no one was able to make use of such berserk energy. For example, the 6 figures in the second video, he knew this move, 1000 crane clones converging slash. Gradually, an extremely brazen idea formed in Tang Tian's mind. Tang Tian felt that he was extremely stupid. Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi was not too fancy, and he actually could not think of a way to counter the opponent. He did not know that countless people were researching on Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi, but the number of people who could think of a way were few and far between. All of them were famous martial artists in Heaven's Road. Tang Tian was not that stupid. He did not dare to refine too much at once, and only absorbed a tiny bit of the void dark flames. To be completely behind the enemy, unless the enemy made a mistake, he would definitely not be able to win. Attack against attack. Firstly, it required a strong stalemate ability. Only then could he persevere until he got close to the enemy. This thought made him excited to be able to fight against such a powerful martial artist like Yi Zhaogu. That feeling must be very satisfying. The Fire Scythe Ghost Claw was very strong, but it was suitable to be a finishing martial technique, and not suitable to defend against the opponent's aura, because the collision of true power would affect his advancement. The training of intuition was different from training of endurance. It should be shorter and more intense. Secondly, after completing the close combat, he needed to be able to quickly end the battle. He needed to think of a way to increase his intuition. After watching the video, Tang Tian already understood, you did not need to be better than the enemy in every aspect, but you needed to be sure that you were better than the enemy in one aspect. Only then would you have the chance to win. But he did not lose his rationale. Even if it was an attack against an attack, how to attack, he still needed to think carefully. Yi Zhaoji's attacks were crazy, disregarding everything. Although it was because of his personality, it was also related to his weird, undying body. Tang Tian did not believe that there was a true undying body in this world, but he had to admit, this kind of reckless and crazy attacking method was indeed very suitable for Yi Zhaogu. But he had never thought of using it. Tang Tian was so upset that he slapped his forehead. As expected, he was not smart enough. To increase intuition, he needed to make his martial spirit stronger. Between these two intuitions, Tang Tian did not hesitate to choose the excited state. Attacking suited the godlike young lad's temperament. His previous training was actually wrong. He was a mortal body. He would bleed, he would be in pain, he would die, and getting injured would cause his fighting strength to drop. He did not care about revealing any flaws, did not care about getting injured. This also allowed him to attack without restraint. This thought made Tang Tian excited. He felt that he had found the crux of the problem. The relationship between the martial spirit and intuition was not so simple. Furthermore, Yi Zhaoji's sword was extremely fast, like a torrential storm, casually releasing a dense rain of sword qi. It was as though he did not need to revolve true power. The rain of sword qi was suffocating. Under these two states, his intuition was the strongest. One was when he was excited, the other was when he was absolutely calm. And under normal emotions, his intuition would be relatively low. Furthermore, these two emotions bestowed upon his intuition were completely different. When he was excited, his intuition would be more aggressive, and he would automatically choose a more aggressive choice. And when he was calm, he would automatically choose a more conservative choice, and wait for the opponent's flaw. After seeing it many times, he finally understood many things. Tang Tian set his own imaginary enemy as Yi Zhaogu. Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi was so strong, it would directly break the blood rush shield. Very quickly, Tang Tian confirmed his goal. Raising his intuition was the first step. The second step was to find a martial technique that could counter Yi Zhaoji's formless sword qi. These two goals were not easy to accomplish. Martial techniques were easier since he did not lack money. He would let Belle ask around. For example, rhythm. When the close quarters combat expert in the video attacked, it was always when the opponent's rhythm was in a panic. Just that, the first two suddenly changed the rhythm, causing the opponent's rhythm to be in a panic. And the last one was like amassing a large army, advancing step by step, slowly but firmly crushing the opponent, causing the opponent to be in a panic. Tang Tian decided to try. His martial spirit silver flame transformed into a silver fire palm, grabbing onto a strand of void dark flames. The melee combat expert in the third video was even stranger. His palms were like suction cups and he was able to borrow strength from his opponent's sword auras. His feet were like ice and his opponent could only watch helplessly as he closed the distance between him and himself before he was killed. Chapter 346. I've long heard of Yi Zhaoji's reputation. Young master's judgment is very similar to what I thought. Mingyu nodded in appreciation. Wu Wanghai's wild laughter gradually turned sorrowful as tears streamed down his face. Xianxia glanced at the menu and casually picked one, fiery red cloud. Forget it, I don't know what it is even if I spend another 7 days. I have to ask someone who knows. Tang Tian decided to ask Bing or Old Man Fei when the time comes, and threw the question to the back of his mind, and once again entered the pit of falling rocks. Sir, may I sit here? Xianxia was a man who knew how to enjoy himself and smiled, thank you. Xianxia spoke excitedly and did not decline. Yi Zhaoji's strength is rarely seen in the world. He is crazy and cold to his enemies and to himself. There were only 2 outcomes for him in the future. One was to become a saint and the other was to die a violent death. His personality was too extreme and the path he walked was extremely dangerous. The slightest carelessness would lead to his death. In the Honorable Martial Alliance, there are only a handful of people in the same generation as him. When I was on the carriage, I heard many people talking about the Battle of Lupus Constellation and was very interested. That day when I met young Master Yong, I heard some people talking about it, but he did not seem to care. Therefore, I took the liberty of coming here to listen to young Master's opinion. Mingyu smiled lightly. He was silent for a while before he muttered to himself, that's an interesting idea. I'm looking forward to it. The waitress at the side poured a cup of tea and served it respectfully. Wu Wanghai, who was in the void, suddenly opened his eyes. What a daring fellow. It's late and the moon is tired. Good night, young master. Normally, he felt that he was the pride of the heavens and thought highly of himself. Ever since he was young, he had never been as hardworking as his senior brother in practicing martial arts. He valued enjoyment more and his mind was lively, so he simply started to manage the mundane affairs of the sect. His teacher was a sword saint with a lofty status. His life had been smooth sailing and he had never encountered any real difficulties. The intense silver flames calmed down. Buzz. Bright moon, the woman said. As soon as Tang Tian entered the pit of falling rocks, he felt that something was different. The silver flames suddenly jumped, and Tang Tian felt as if his head had suffered a heavy blow. His face revealed a blank expression. Tang Tian, who was burning with rage, tried his best to instigate the silver flame, and twined it around the void dark flames. Boom. I won't hide it from Miss Mingyue. Xianxia laughed bitterly. If I were to say what I feel the most, it would be that I finally know, there is always someone better than me and there is always a mountain higher than me. Xianxia's gaze could not help but be infatuated, and after a few seconds he regained his composure. He then understood but had some suspicions. For the past few days he actually did not notice such an outstanding beauty. Xianxia received the teacup, only to see that the tea was scarlet red and actually had different levels. Some were thick, some were light, and in the small cup the mist was changing. Sir, please wait a moment, the waiter said respectfully. For a full 5 days Tang Tian, who had mustered up all his strength, clenched his teeth and fought to the death with the void dark flames. Suddenly he felt that the outer layer of the void dark flames was shaking. His spirit was greatly roused and he gathered his remaining strength to continue refining. After the ceremony, she half knelt and sat down and skillfully arranged the tea set. Her brewing of tea was extremely interesting. The pure white jade teapot was placed in the center. Her snow-white and delicate hands separated the teapot, nimbly flipping it. One red and one blue aura wrapped around the teapot. It was actually the dual affinity water and fire true power. Her technique was extremely precise and pleasing to the eye. If it was any other person, they would definitely think that their own guess was wrong. But to this crazy young man, he obviously did not waver in his own guess, but was enraged. The void dark flames that were the size of a strand of hair dared to challenge him? Benefiting from the Pulsatilla Merchant Group's strong power, Xian Dakar Company was extremely strong in the northern skies 19 continents, and had a good reputation. The Wyvern car was a large-scale carriage, mainly aimed at the high-end market, and the inside was extremely luxurious. He had a good impression of Mingyu Xian and could not help but show off and laughed. Miss Mingyu might not know, but not only did I personally witness the battle, I also participated in it, so when I heard those people talking nonsense I lost my composure. Could it be that his martial spirit was unable to refine the void dark flames? Mingyu. Good name. Zhou Xian clapped his hands and praised. The young lady in front of him had a cool temperament, but wasn't she just like the bright moon? After a while, a beautiful young lady carrying a tea set walked to Zhou Xian and bowed. Mister, sorry to keep you waiting. An extremely luxurious gigantic carriage was flying in the sky. This carriage was as long as 60 m, and at the front of the carriage was a majestic and noble dragon head that looked alive. This Draco Constellation's Wyvern car was one of the signature carriages of the Pulsatilla Merchant Group's Xian Dakar Company. The Pulsatilla Merchant Group was a large-scale merchant group, and had a huge influence in the northern skies 19 continents. A snow-white figure entered Zhou Xian's vision, that beautiful face that caused people to suffocate. Even for Zhou Xian, who had seen countless of women, he was stunned for a few seconds. It was a flawless face, long hair that draped over her shoulders, eyebrows that were black like ink. Her pitch-black bright eyes were as clear as a baby's eyes without any impurities. Mingyu bade farewell to Zhou Xian. He was an eloquent speaker and described the scene that happened that day vividly and vividly. I am Zhou Xian. To be able to meet young Miss is truly an honor. I wonder what is young Miss's name? Zhou Xian's heart was burning. He had seen countless of women, but had never seen such a breathtaking beauty. Chapter 347. Everything around him seemed to have changed. He could move as he pleased. It was a wonderful feeling. I am lightning, I am light. He was like an agile beast leaping in the bronze forest. And if a meteorite suddenly exploded not far from him, Tang Tian's body would bend slightly, like a cat's fur standing up, his entire body filled with an extreme sense of danger. This fellow. Bing's martial techniques did not walk the path of intuition, but he had seen strong martial artists who relied on intuition to fight. Tang Tian's beast-like intuition was exactly the same as the martial artists he had seen in the past. Look here, there are traces of high-temperature melting. That means the moment it was destroyed, it produced an extremely high temperature and even melted the crystal copper. Do you know what the melting point of crystal copper is? 2,400 degrees. Yi Xiaogu is too abnormal. She praised Yi Xiaogu not because of Bing, but because Yi Xiaoji's powerful strength had truly opened her eyes. After Sky Tiger leveled up, its standard in all aspects soared, and could be said to be the highest standard of the current generation mechanical techniques. Adding Bing, a grandmaster mechanical martial artist, Sai Lei was full of confidence. Before he came, Sai Lei had helped him anticipate all sorts of situations, so he was well prepared. His expression was focused and meticulous. Bing was extremely satisfied with Tang Chao's work. Tang Chao's standard was not bad, although the army that he groomed was not as brave as Tang Yi, but they were much more outstanding in the details. This was not a tyrannical and fierce army, but their ability to maintain a stalemate was outstanding. I am the only one left in the Southern Cross Army. If I do everyone's share, then those people in the Heavenly Kingdom will not be cursing and swearing, right? Bing's poker face revealed a smile. Inside the meteorite pit, Tang Tian was extremely excited. He kept on shouting. He was like a ferocious tiger, rushing through the dense rain of meteorites. Bing's eyes were sharp. With one look he could tell that Tang Tian was different. He was always able to judge the direction of the meteorites one step ahead. That was why his movements looked so smooth and easy. If I can get my hands on such a pervert, whoa, the perfect human-shaped forging machine. The perfect human-shaped metal processing machine. The best partner for a mechanical engineer. Tang Tian would definitely not admit defeat. After clearing a few places, Bing once again found the feeling he had in the past, and his movements became more adept. Who would have thought that he would lose so miserably? After traveling day and night, Bing finally arrived at the 07 Army camp. Silver Spirit spiraling energy. Finally, Bing could not take it anymore, decided to ignore the crazy woman and turned to leave. Bing quietly watched Tang Tian train with all his might, perspiration flying in the air. His entire body was covered in dust, but his bright and clear eyes blazed with the pure ambition of a young man. Tang Tian's strength had already surpassed the recruits by a lot, and the training subjects of the recruit barracks to him were already very difficult to improve. He curiously walked to the pit of falling rocks and observed Tang Tian's training. After coming out from Sai Lei's place, Bing took the time to go to the mechanical training barracks. Tang Chou followed by his side and reported the work that he had done. Tang Chou was a spirit military leader with a completely different style from Tang Yi. He was not as ferocious as Tang Yi, but he was much smarter than Tang Yi, and his attainments and tactics were also much higher. This could be seen from the training arrangements. Tang Yi was following Bing's training plan to the letter, while Tang Chou had created a new set of training plans which was extremely detailed. Bing's poker face could no longer maintain its composure, his face filled with disbelief. Since he could not think of the logic behind it, then he would leave it to the godlike genius young man's intuition. He stared at Tang Tian, who was in the pit of falling rocks, in a daze. The millstone-sized rocks that were struck by Tang Tian would explode. This brat was using his intuition to adjust his own martial techniques. After casually instructing Tang Chou, Bing returned and left Three Spirit City. The majestic and lonely number 07 barracks. Even the air was filled with the smell of copper rust. All the rusty bronze structures were silent. Bing stopped in his tracks, raised his head and looked at the empty and dilapidated bronze buildings, thinking about something. After a moment of silence, he retracted his gaze. Bing's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Whoever's mechanical spirit weapon was destroyed, and their own mechanical engineer looked at the broken parts and praised their opponent, was definitely not a happy thing. Furthermore, Bing was such a proud and arrogant person. Success. Look at this, it is completely twisted. That means the power of the attack did not come from the front, there is still a horizontal force. Yi Zhaogu is so perverse. Carving. If you have the time, why don't you go back to sleep? Bing pushed the bronze arched door, causing it to spin, and when the arched door was pushed to the bright scale, the light aura of the door exploded. Bing became patient, and according to the repair guide that Sai Lei gave him, he slowly started to repair it. Bing was slightly glad that he had done a lot of chores in the past and knew a bit of everything. He was young in the army and was easy to talk to, so all the heartless people threw their jobs to him. Unknowingly, Tang Tian started to trust his own intuition even more. The bronze arched door was already rusted to the point of being full of holes. It seemed like it needed to be repaired. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.